Hey, we're back, fight fans. This is your boy Ak.
And I'm Barak, the Boxing Bully.
And this is the DAZN Boxing Show presented by Autozone. Big fight coming up Saturday in the 168-pound division. Barak, you know, we as fight fans, we get excited about fights all the time because we're fight fans. But when you know you're going to get a showdown of nonstop punching throughout the fight, you get a little extra excited here. And that's Munguia versus Ryder. So much to touch on in this weight division and in this actual fights and where they are in their career, Barak. So I'll pose a question to you here. We know that you and I both, and fight fans have been wanting to see Munguia in big elite fights against elite fighters. He has a lot of fights, right? And though this might not be that elite name, right? Here's a guy who just went the distance with Canelo Alvarez, who showed that he belongs in the division fighting any of those guys. I mean, he pretty much held his own at times against one of the best fighters in the world. We got him at number 2 for pound in Canelo Alvarez. Is this Munguia's toughest test?
On paper, maybe on paper. You know, maybe John Ryder caught Canelo on a bad night. Who knows? If you look at the Derevyanchenko fight versus Munguia, that was a hell of a fight. Fight of the year. He gave Munguia such hell, but kind of faded, and Munguia is the kind of guy who gets stronger as the fight goes on. So I think no fight could probably be tougher than that, But John Ryder is one of those guys that could bring a tough fight to you. I think he gave Canelo some problems here and there, but Canelo, outclassed him, So yeah, on paper, I got to answer that, yeah, this is his toughest fight.
And I like what John Ryder has done in his career. Look, if you don't remember, for those that don't, there's a guy that fought Daniel Jacobs, who Canelo had beat earlier on, I guess when Danny was more of a threat, even though it was at 160, much bigger guy. A lot of people felt that Daniel Jacobs won that fight. It was a very close fight against Ryder.
I thought so, actually. I would have edged that to Daniel Jacobs.
So did I, but I mean, there's a reason why you said edge, because it's a very close fight. So Ryder also had a lot of success in that fight. And maybe this Canelo, sometimes in a loss, depending on who you fight, you get a sense of confidence and a new surge in your career. And I think that loss against Canelo, because it went the distance, did more for him, than him beating a relatively unknown fighter had he fought and won. So that's the plus for Ryder. Now, he's fighting a guy who throws about 60 punches around, around 40 power punches around. And not that Ryder doesn't have high volume, right? He's around 50 around, maybe 28 to 30 power punches. So there's going to be a lot of action. But Munguia is not a Canelo Alvarez in a sense where he saves his shots. He's very economical with what he throws. He waits to pick his shots. This is a guy that's going to be a machine on top of Ryder the entire night. Can he deal with that?
Yeah, and think about this. If you're saying that Ryder throws about 28 to 30 punches.
Power punches, those 50, around 50 punches around, but about 28 to 30 power punches.
Styles make fights. You do that against a guy like Canelo because Canelo's not throwing 100 punches at you in a round. So I think that stat is going to step up when John Ryder faces Munguia. He's going to raise to the 40, 45 power punches per round because he's going to match his aggression, and I think that's what we're going to see.
Or could it go the other way? Could it be that Munguia is too active, too much volume?
You might.
It will make him more.
Somebody's going to overpower somebody. Somebody's going to overpower somebody. But before that happens, we're going to see them both meet each other in the same place with the same amount of aggression. That's 100%. But the more skillful guy who's landing the most punches, or maybe the harder punches, is going to win the fight.
Look, I kind of beg to differ with you on that. I think that Munguia's volume is going to cause Ryder to be less offensive. And the reason that he was more offensive against Canelo is because Canelo does wait and counter. So there's more opportunities. I think Munguia is going to be so active that I think Ryder will be on the back foot. I'm not saying that he won't fire back, and I'm not saying that moments in that fight won't be neck and neck. I think that.
Then what are you saying
is
different from me?
What I'm saying is that it won't be constant, right? It would be at times where maybe Munguia might gas out a little bit. Maybe he'll take a break. But I'm talking about when these guys meet head to head, I'm sorry, Barak, I'm going to have to give the edge to Munguia in terms of who's going to get more shots off. And I think Ryder is going to be less offensive, maybe smarter, maybe waiting on countering, but he's not going to meet him neck and neck with shots back and forth. No, sorry.
But this is what you're saying, though, because you kind of like contradicted yourself. You're saying you're saying, yeah, I think there's going to be times like that. Well, then if you're saying that, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm saying moments, but meaning maybe a very short part of a round. But if I have to measure it around, I would say 75% of the time, you're going to see Munguia on top of him.
You're going to give a percentage. Yes. You're going to give a percentage of how much time Munguia is going to be on top of Ryder. Whatever.
That's my assessment.
That's why I'm glad the fight is so soon so we can see. But I just think that John Ryder has to meet him. John Ryder's not going to be cutesy in there. He's not going to dance and move. He's going to meet. He's tough. Look at his jaw. He took Canelo shots. Yeah. I don't think he's going to back down that easy until maybe Munguia overpowers him or it goes the other way.
I wouldn't say he's going to back down. I think he's going to be a threat for Munguia in there. I do think that it's going to be a fight. Now, when you think about John Ryder, this is his last hurrah, right? This is a big opponent for him to be back in the mix. Look, there are a lot of fights at 168, and we'll move on and talk about what's next for either guy. We know that I want to see Munguia versus Canelo. I don't know what Canelo is as far as fighting Mexicans nowadays. I know he's on a different path already. This guy's already accomplished everything that you could accomplish in a boxing ring, made more money than probably any boxer in boxing now. So there's not much left but big legacy fights. Does he fight Munguia? We don't know. But if Munguia is going to get an opportunity at a Canelo Alvarez, he has to win this fight big. And guess what, Barak? There's the measuring stick. Canelo just fought Ryder. Well, not just fought him, before the Charlo fight. Now, if Munguia goes out there and steps on John Ryder and wins in spectacular fashion, guess what? There's an argument that, hey.
That's the only way. That is the only way, because I can't even believe you said you want to see Canelo versus Munguia. Maybe years ago, but Canelo already, small as he is, Munguia's 6 feet, Canelo's 5'8". And Canelo wiped out the 168-pound division, beating 3 undefeated champions. Get the heck, Munguia for what? Now I get it. It's a maybe a fight that will throw a lot of punches and somebody's getting knocked out, and it might even be Munguia. Imagine Munguia getting knocked out. Right. But no, I mean that just doesn't make sense to Canelo's legacy. It doesn't make sense. It's not a legacy fight. Now, if Munguia goes in there and knocks out John Ryder, then we can say, okay, maybe he deserved it. But there's a guy named Benavidez that deserved it, way before you. Because if you look at Munguia's record, it kind of reminds me, what is he, 42-0? It kind of reminds me of Gilberto Ramirez record, 40-something and 0, but didn't fight the top guys, didn't fight the champions, the guys that you need to fight. And then as soon as you fight a champion, you lose. And okay, I don't want to see that from Munguia, but I think Canelo has bigger fish to fry.
I agree with you. And we all have an idea who we want to see Canelo fight. But if not Canelo and Jaime Munguia goes on to win big, then who? I mean, there are only but so many guys at the 168 division, and I don't want to see.
It doesn't have to be a lot. It can only be one.
Jaime Munguia. Right. But I'm saying, if not the champion, the undisputed champion at 168 in Canelo Alvarez, then who? Has to be a big name. I haven't even said anything about Munguia fighting champions. I said I want to see him fight elite fighters. Okay. I want to see Munguia fight Caleb Plant. I want to see Munguia fight David Benavidez.
Jamal Charlo.
I want to see Munguia fight
David Morrell. Like all of these guys.
Those are fights that need to happen next. And I'm saying it out loud. Look, I love Golden Boy, right? And his management team, they're great guys. If Munguia gets past Ryder, which it's a big if, he's fighting a real fighter, there's no other fight that needs to happen but him fighting an elite fighter next. Right. But first, he has to take care of business in Arizona.
And I think you're right. If he does destroy John Ryder, which would be crazy, But if he does destroy John Ryder, Canelo didn't get him out of there, then I'm not mad at people saying, okay, he needs to fight Canelo, you know, because I'm one of those guys that's been saying for years, or probably the only guy, that Canelo is too small for 168-pound division anyway.
Yeah, obviously not the only guy.
Well, yeah, sometimes you follow me. You know what I'm saying? No. You follow what I say.
Sometimes we actually agree on something individually, all right? But nevertheless, that's a fight that people are going to demand if he wins big, all right? But listen, Barak, look, we'll get all those questions answered after the fight, and then we'll talk about it on Monday, all right? That's our show for today, presented by AutoZone. Peace and love. Stay safe. We're out of here.